Thank you to Casetify for supporting this video.
After living with and using the Google Pixel 7 Pro for well over what is a good month now, there is a clear feeling and statement that comes to mind when using it extensively day to day. And that statement is that the Google Pixel 7 Pro is my personal phone of the year for 2022 and beyond. Now look, dubbing it with such a title and award is no small feat, and it still definitely comes with its imperfections and shortcomings, but in the grand scheme of things, I still think it deserves that title. I say this because the design and build quality, and yes, the Google Pixel 7 Pro is definitely still carrying what is great and makes it unique by following right after the Pixel 6 Pro with that horizontal camera bar at the back, which in turn makes for a very good placement for your index finger, and also inherently allows the Pixel 7 Pro to remain steady on a flat surface, which I guess, look, it ain't much of a major feature, but it's still nice considering how often I interact with the display when placed on a table. Look, I love the design. But you know what, there is still a few things about the build and the finish that still leaves me wanting more from Google. Yes, the upgrade to the single continuous metal frame from the camera bar and the metal frame is great, and at first makes it stand out, but the finish, it just ain't it. Now look, that glossy finish within a day or two was so prone to micro scratches, and I think if Google went with the same satin matte finish that they did with the Pixel 7, there would be no scratches at all. That's just not it alone. You know, it's not done because again, the glass material at the back is still glossy, and you may think that, look, it doesn't matter because most people put cases on it, but the brave and not so wise in most cases, pun intended, this finish is slippery, attracts and shows fingerprints like crazy, especially when you look at this black obsidian color that I'm using, which, look, personally, snow, a white color, is the best color for the Pixel 7 Pro. Again, the scratches is something that's just gonna happen way too easily. Google, you were already ahead of most phones and manufacturers when it came to using a matte satin finish with the phones that you were bringing out before with the likes of the Pixel 4 XL. And I really hope with the Pixel 8 next year, you ditch this glossy finish altogether. For all those reasons alone, I definitely recommend putting a case on the Pixel 7 Pro, and my choice would be Casetify with their impact cases lineup for the Pixel 7 Pro. The real innovation when it comes to the impact cases is really down to Casetify's EcoShock impact absorption tech that comes with a protective layer on the Pixel 7 Pro cases, allowing for protection from drops up to 8.2 feet, which, look, considering I'm exactly 6 foot tall, that is impressive. As one of the world's most popular tech accessories brand, Casetify do not miss when it comes to testing their cases, passing military standards by drop testing 100+ times over. From the endless designs and the multiple ways to customize your cases, the raised camera bezel for better protection on the Pixel 7 Pro's camera bar, support still for wireless charging, and most importantly, why I rock with Casetify is that they use plant-based materials and their cases are using 65% recyclable materials for more eco-friendly production and final product output for their impact cases. Use my special link in the description below for 15% off your impact cases for the Pixel 7 Pro, and thank you to Casetify for supporting this video. The display is one area that on the surface has seen a nice refined upgrade, but I think there's more to the display experience that has me surprised enough for me to actually say that this is probably one of the best displays I've used on a smartphone this year. Now, saying it's one of the best is not in the most obvious way that you think when it comes to things like outright raw numbers and specs, because yes, it doesn't have the crazy same outdoor brightness mode of 2000 nits like you find on the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and it definitely doesn't have the additional S Pen or stylus support like what you find in the Galaxy S22 Ultra from Samsung to make it the best technical display on a smartphone. But it does well in other areas that make it probably my favorite display on a smartphone right now. Yes, I would still love for Google to just use the same flat display like what they did on the Pixel 7, but it does at least have a less extreme curve than compared to the previous Pixel 6 Pro. So I would take that improvement as it does make a difference. Now the max brightness again has been improved, making it much better for outdoor visibility. And of course we still do have a QHD Plus 1440p OLED panel running at a nice adaptive 120Hz display, which can scale down all the way down to 10Hz. Now look, one small but needed touch that is something that's really good is the fact that you can now finally drop the screen resolution down to 1080p, which was not there before. And also, speaking of things that was not there before, that's actually here now, face unlock. And again, look, this is not the main form of biometric unlock, but I'm glad to see face unlock is here on the Pixel 7 Pro alongside the much improved in-display fingerprint sensor, which is not only faster, but most importantly, much more consistent. I love all these improvements, but the one that stands out the most has got to be the haptic vibration feedback alongside the top tier tapping experience. Now look, I will address this more when it comes to the software section of the review, but honestly, as I like to call myself a typaholic, the Pixel 7 Pro has one of the best keyboards and typing experience I've used on any smartphone, and I don't take that statement back one bit. That alone has glued me to the display of the Pixel 7 Pro, and look, easily has become my favorite display experience on a smartphone. Now look, in closing though, I will say that using a screen protector on the Pixel 7 Pro is kind of almost a must because it just feels even more scratch prone than before. And unfortunately, the downside of a curved display is that it's a lot more difficult to find a good quality glass screen protector for it. It's obviously a great top tier display experience, but just have that in mind. And hey, if you're enjoying this review so far, then make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're part of Team TLS, the Tech Lover Squad, so you don't miss any future videos on the channel. With that out of the way, let's continue with the review. It's not gonna come as any surprise that the performance has been great for me on the Pixel 7 Pro. Now, when it comes to having things like 12 gigabytes of RAM and fast storage on tap, backed with a custom 8-core system on a chip SoC, nowadays in the Android and smartphone world, such specs will usually net you great performance, and the Pixel 7 Pro is literally proof of that. For what is Google's second generation attempt at somewhat a full custom chipset engine to power their phones, this is a great experience when it comes to the Tensor G2 and what it brings to the table outside the raw traditional benchmark numbers. The only thing that really surprised me with the Tensor G2 is the fact that it's still on a 5nm process. Now look, of course, in the grand scheme of things, it's more than fine, but a newer manufacturing process would have been more beneficial to keep up with the competition, especially when it comes to things like efficiency gains when it comes to power draw. I will touch more on the feature experience of the Tensor G2 and what it brings in the software section of this review. But in terms of performance, the Tensor G2 is putting in and doing the work. If there's one area I really feel Google listened to when it came to trying to not only improve the Pixel experience, but also push it to be class leading, is definitely the camera experience. There is always the question of starting with either the good, the bad, and the in between. But you know what? I'm gonna start with the good because it really shows just how far Google have come in the Pixel 7 Pro camera experience and performance, even when comparing it to the previous Pixel 6 Pro. For reference, at the time of this recording and review, there should be 3 full in-depth camera comparisons with the Pixel 7 Pro against the Pixel 6 Pro, the Galaxy S22 Ultra, and the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So I definitely recommend taking time to watch these for full context. In short, what I'm so impressed by is the improvement in the video capture experience, especially when it comes to shooting specifically 4K 60 frames a second, which you can now finally do it on all the camera lenses, including the selfie, but when recording on the rear lenses, you can switch between the ultra wide, the main wide sensor, and the new 5x zoom without having to stop recording it, making Google the first smartphone manufacturer to actually give you this ability in 4K 60 frames a second. Video on a selfie camera is excellent, and the video stabilization overall is better than before. And we get a proper 0.5x ultra wide lens for a true ultra wide viewing experience, which then doubles up as a macro shooting camera thanks to the addition of autofocus. Now, Real Tone is still the most underrated and also appreciated feature and still makes taking photos a top tier experience, especially when it comes to people with my skin persuasion. Then it's just the little things with the camera UI, like how the camera stays on the same focal length when switching between photos and videos, the UI prompts improvements, which actually communicates what shooting modes you're in and also to try out, and the improved zoom slider with the hard stops and the haptic feedback for better nailing your extended zoom ranges and being able to extend your night mode exposure time. This level of hardware improvements with the new selfie, the new ultra wide, as well as the new 5x zoom backed with the software and image quality improvements really puts the Pixel 7 Pro up there as one of the best for 2022 and even beyond. All good things aside, let's take a step back and look at the in-between on some of the things that are still good but need a bit of refinement and polishing up. Look, I love the fact that macro mode is here and the ability for the auto macro to be disabled and enabled with a toggle in the settings for more user control. I love that. But the actual macro mode icon button being dead in the middle of the display is not good and should be in a lower position for better reach. Another thing that I have to say, I can't tell you how excited I was to see the introduction of cinematic video blur for videos on the Pixel 7 Pro. And as much as I'm okay with 1080p being the max video quality for now, the mode is just limited to the main camera sensor with no option to use it on the zoom or especially on the selfie. But again, there's still no option to actually change the intensity of the blur before you start recording. It kind of just makes it feel like the addition of video portrait mode was a last minute afterthought, and I really hope Google improves it, not just in terms of the quality, but the experience of capturing it next time. And now for the bad. And there's only one thing that surprisingly sticks out to me when it comes to the Pixel 7 Pro camera experience, and funny enough, that's portrait mode for pictures. There seems to be no progression since the Pixel 2 days because the portrait blur is still not in real time like what the competition gives you, and basically means that you kind of just have to trust the phone to blur when you take the shot. And look, that may have been okay 4 years ago, but the experience now is such a hit and miss and it doesn't always work. Then the crop in portrait mode in the 1x and 2x mode feels way more than what it should be, and even the final image quality and edge detection is really nothing to write home about, especially when you look at the final image of the 2x mode. The lack of a dedicated 3x zoom lens for portrait mode is really evident, and in conclusion, I hope in the future, whether it be a Pixel Ultra or even still the Pro, Google adds a dedicated 3x zoom, especially for portrait mode on our camera hardware. Android 13 on the Pixel 7 Pro has been the pure definition of just too smooth and just too smart. And it's even hard to know where to begin, as it really does deserve its own video dedicated to just how well it runs. On a system level, when it comes to smoothness, speed, fluidity, animations, and consistency across the board, this is the best experience you will get on an Android phone. And I will even say, in a lot of ways, it matches what Apple offers with iOS, with the additional benefit of better OS navigations with gestures, and even for power users, you get features like true multitasking to really balance the experience out. The software, backed with the power of the Tensor G2, really is what sets the Pixel 7 Pro apart, with features like transcribing your voice notes to text in the native Messages app without playing the voice note. The photo on blur in the Google Photos app, which is dedicated for the Pixel 7 Pro and Pixel 7, is something that when you use it in the correct situation works like a dream in restoring your blurred photos and keeping your photos uninterrupted, which is a favorite feature of mine. And especially when it comes to things like the keyboard, the witchcraft that is voice to text. The software experience on the Pixel 7 Pro is now walking that fine line of a software experience I really respect and appreciate, to the point where, you know what, it might just end up being my favorite. With the 5000 mAh battery that's being used in the Pixel 7 Pro, the battery life experience has actually really been good. The difference maker for me though is definitely the adaptive battery life preferences, which really do kick in and start to learn and optimize and give you the best battery life experience based on your usage. So look, I definitely recommend when you get this phone, give it about 2-3 weeks and it's gonna kick in and really do well. I still do wish the charging times to 100% were improved to charge no more than 1 hour, but overall, averaging about 6 to 7 hours of screen on time with the Pixel 7 Pro has me happy with the battery life experience, and this is with using 5G and the display resolution at 1440p with 120Hz. In the end, the real thing that makes the Pixel 7 Pro one part of my personal phone of the year is not because it's a perfect phone, because again, if you look in this review, I called out all the good, the bad, and in between, as you would do, because you want to push back to hope and make sure that the next version is even better, and even the current version, right, gets better with things like software updates. It's more because Google listens and knows how to read the room, because to still keep the Pixel 7 Pro at the same price of £849 in the UK and $899 while improving the phone this much is crazy to me. Perfect or not, Google, if you keep this level of improvement going, even on a bi-yearly basis, then the Phone of the Year title is yours all day long.